Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that are read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is the debut author and the author of the book Breaking the Silence, My Journey from Addiction to Healing, no other than Mr. Damian Bloss.
Thank you.
Welcome on Book 101, Mr. Damian. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Damian Bloss, of course, and I'm an author of Breaking the Silence. And basically, what I'm doing is just trying to help others find hope in their recovery journey, or if they haven't started that recovery journey, I want to help them along. I was in that place before, and I love giving back. So, reaching out and things to help the community.
And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Damian.
Thank you.
Thank you, and looking forward for more and more empowering books like this to come. So today let's talk about your debut book. Tell us, before we talk about the healing, take us back to the beginning. What did the silence feels like at the height of your struggle? Was it a silence of shame, isolation, or something else entirely?
Yeah, all of the above, to be honest. When I was about 18, 19 years old, that's when I started my self destruction. With the loss of a family member, close family member. He had passed away by suicide. And, that hit me hard. Being a young kid at that point and, never experiencing anything like that. And I was the only one that knew, I'm the only one that he confided in to say he was thinking about doing this. And, he would always joke it off and laugh it off and things. And, you know, say, don't tell anybody that I'm saying this and stuff like that. And, that stuff just progressively gotten worse. And, when it actually did happen, I'm left with, why didn't I say anything? Why am I the one? What if I would have said something? What if I would have said something? Would he still be here? All that guilt. I was basically left with survivor's guilt. And I don't think that was his intention, of course. So, like, it's not, I don't fault him for my downfalls. But the way I would cope with that would be to, drown myself in the alcohol, and, to where I would nearly forget everything that had happened. And, when I was able to suppress all that, the alcohol actually turned me into this person where, I was very introverted as a kid growing up, and I was very shy, and, you know, I made friends, but it wasn't very easy and things. But the alcohol let me do that. It brought this person out of me, and was like, I've been searching for that person. Like, I always wanted to be more outgoing and more personable and, life of the party type of person. And the alcohol was able to do that for me. And, it snowballed from there.
Addiction often creates a double life. Can you describe the person you were presenting to the world versus the person you felt you were in private?
Yes. You know, I would smile on the outside, but on the inside I'm like tearing up. And the person that I would show to others was this just happy go lucky person, and, make you laugh, and just a delight, to be honest. And, you know, and I loved that. But deep down, when I would not be around everybody, I felt so alone, and I would drink more, thinking that was going to help me, and it just took me down this very dark path. But then when I would be around other people, here I am laughing it up, and, nobody had an idea what was going on. And when I eventually did get sober, everyone was like, I had no idea. I had no idea that you were struggling like this, and you were going through all these things, because I never talked about it. I would struggle in silence because I was afraid of the guilt, or I'm sorry, afraid of the judgments, and people would judge what I'm doing. I'm going down this nasty road. I didn't want people to look down on me. The perception of someone in active addiction was this just disheveled person, and society has done that with the addicted person. And I didn't want to be looked at like that. I wanted to still be looked at like this fun-loving guy. And it was battling. It was really hard to battle two of these personalities that I had.
And tell us, what was the voice of your addiction telling you, and how did it systematically silence your own inner voice, your values, or and your connections to others?
The voice of my addiction was louder than my own voice. It would tell me that you need this, you need me in order to live, you need me in order to get by to the next day or the next hour, you need me to go to work, you need me to make friends. And I listened to it, and it for the longest time I looked at it like, you're absolutely right. I do need you. I do need you to help me live and help me get through the tough times, because I know exactly how it felt when I was going through those times. That was my answer. Alcohol was, it, it could be, you could say that was my problem, but to me, that was my solution. Alcohol was the solution to any problem I had, good or bad. And it would just say, you're not going to get through this life without me. And that was a big struggle. And I did little stints here and there in jail. And I went to rehab before. I was going to therapy and counseling and meetings and all this stuff. And the alcohol or the addiction was still telling me, you're not doing enough, you're not going to get rid of me that easy. And it was at this moment, at the end of my journey or my addiction, where it said, you've done everything that you can to get rid of me. The only way you're going to get rid of me is if you take your own life. So it was telling me that I needed to do this. And that was the scariest moment in my life.
Many people use the term rock bottom, Mr. Damian. Was your turning point a single dramatic event, or was it slow dawning realization that something had to change?
Yeah, well, I tried to quit many times on my own and things like that, and it just kept pulling me back in. I could go a couple days without it, and then it would pull me right back in, saying, "See, you're able to go a couple days without me. So if you ever want to do it long term, I can tell you you're going to." So it would pull me back in that way. And when I hit my rock bottom, it was just like I was talking about, when it told me that the only way out of this addiction is if you take your own life. And that it took me back to when I was 18, when that family member did that. And I had never had these thoughts before. And I started to believe that that was the only way. And I was in the process of doing this. I wanted to do it. I didn't want to do it, but it was telling me I had to, and this was going to be the only way I could get out of it. I was right on that verge of doing it, and I was in the process of texting my wife to tell her that day that I'm not going to be here to pick up the kids from school, and I'm not going to be here, phys- uh, you know, in this world anymore. And you know, I accidentally called this pastor that I had in my phone. I had his phone number. I never called him, never talked to him ever before. And in that moment, I accidentally called him. And that was the turning point. When he answered that phone, I completely broke down. That's when I knew I did not want to do this. He talked me off that ledge, and I um, checked myself into rehab at that moment.
Mr. Damian, what was the first crack in the wall of silence? Was it a conversation, a moment of clarity, or an intervention that finally made you feel heard or willing to be heard?
I would have to say that it was when I did my last stint in rehab. I was teetering on that. Do I want this? Do I not want this? Can I do this? Um, and I stuck with my gut, and I went to rehab, and that was the turning point in that moment where, that was the scariest thing that I had ever gone through. And, the going to jail and being in just completely reckless should have woken me up and scared me more. But going to rehab scared me because I knew that this is going to have to be my last time. I was at the verge of not being here anymore. And if I don't go through with this, I will not make it another round. um, when I got to rehab, I I dug in deep, and I was like, I need to do this. This is where I need to be. I need to get to the root of this problem. Yes, I need to be sober. But I had this conversation with one of the counselors, and he was like, you can't just get sober. You have to work on yourself. You have to get to the root of that problem. And that took me down a road of going to trauma therapy and things like that, trying to find out, what exactly is causing this so I can move forward and grow.
Asking for help is often described as one of the hardest steps. What gave you the courage to finally speak your truth and ask for it?
I knew that I had to be comfortable with being uncomfortable and let my guard down and be vulnerable. The many times that I tried to quit before, what I would do is I basically wouldn't tell anybody that I was trying to quit. That way, I didn't have to explain when I would fall off that wagon. Um, and I wouldn't have to say, yeah, I was, getting sober, and then I fell off, and then, things like that. I didn't want to have to explain myself. So I would keep all that to myself, but I knew this time I needed to be open about it. I needed to literally break that silence and recover out loud. And for me to be held accountable, I needed accountability. And recovery is huge. You need to have that. Um, so I needed to be loud with what I was doing. I needed to show others that, and prove to myself, more importantly, that I can do this one day at a time. And as cliche as that is, I knew that I needed to do this. And that's what got that whole ball rolling, was that I needed to be loud about it. I needed to let everyone know, and basically shout it from the rooftops that I'm doing this. I'm holding myself accountable, and I'm going to continue on this journey. And that's how I've been living. And it's the best decision I ever made.
Definitely a best decision, and we congratulate you for that, Mr.
Thank you.
Damien. Congratulations. What was the
Thank you.
first glimmer of hope you experienced once you started on the path of recovery? What did it feel like to have that hope after being without it for so long?
Yeah, it's still a struggle. Even 5 years later, it still calls my name. It's still right here on my shoulder, saying, just waiting for me to come back to it. But the glimmer of hope that I have is that, you know, I know in my heart that I don't have another time in me. and I just want to reach others. So, when I think about going back, um, it actually scares me. Like I get this sick feeling in my stomach when I'm thinking, because it's like I said, it still calls my name. So when I think like, man, it's been 5 years, I wonder if I could have one. Um, you know, it literally scares me because I remember it takes me back to that moment, to in my deepest addiction, where I was lost. And it's a very scary feeling, but I never want to forget that feeling. I never want to forget where I came from, because if I ever forget where I came from, I know myself better than anybody, and I know I can fall back into that same pattern, and it'll only be 100 times worse if I do that. So it's watching myself grow, from what I was on day one, sober Damian at day one, to sober Damian now, the amount of growth that I have accomplished, and the goals that I have accomplished, um, help me to keep going and be better than I was yesterday.
Mr. Damian, as a debut author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Short, short term, I just want to stay sober. I want to keep growing. I want to, I live my day one day, my life one day at a time. And I never understood that back then, but I get it now. I can't worry about what tomorrow will bring, even though I do set myself up for goals. Um, I still have to maintain my sobriety right now. As long as I can stay sober right now, I can achieve those goals. Um, so my long-term goal is to continue on this journey with. I'm in the process now of writing another book, called Recovering Out Loud, and it's basically some of my story that's not in my first book, and my journey through this recovery, what it looks like on my side of this recovery journey, and what steps I took, to make it, and to make it continuously, to this day. And I speak at the rehabs. I do speaking engagements, at recovery events, and I mentor inmates at my local detention center. And I've run a mental health and addiction group as well. And it's I want to keep reaching and letting others know that there is hope, and there's no finish line to this thing once you're in recovery. So there's no reason to rush through it.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Damian, and looking forward for more success. And what would be a piece of advice for those people out there who want to be an author like you?
you know that's a great question, and to be honest with you, being an author wasn't even in my plans. um I had no goal. I never set that goal to write a book. I just really wanted to reach others, and the way and I started within my community, and then I wanted to reach outside of my community. And at first, that big step was to write a book about my journey, what it took, and things, providing hope for others, because I know there are others out there with a story like mine. It may not be exactly the same, but in a roundabout way, we all have the same story, and we all have the same end goal as well. It just, we don't have that same path to get there, but as long as we get there, that is the most important thing. So I say, follow your heart. Like I said, it wasn't in my journey, in my plans to write a book, but in order for me to reach others outside of my community, that is the route that I took. And I say to you, good luck on your journey, and I know you can make this, and I have much faith in everything that you do.
Indeed, and thank you so much for sharing your advice, Mr. Damien. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Sure. There is actually there is a book. The author's name is Rich Serum, and it's a recovery as well. It's a mental health journey book. The title right now is slipping my mind, but it is on Amazon. His name is Rich Serum, and he has a fabulous book. And you know, I you know, I wish I had the name of the book. But if after this, if I can get it to you, definitely can do that.
Definitely. So, Mr. Damien, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and mental health 101. Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its second season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcasts. Finally, Mr. Damian, your journey has brought you here to place of sharing and advocacy. What is a new purpose that your recovery has given you, and where does this path lead next?
Yeah, the path leading next. I'm wanting to just continue on this journey and reaching just one person. That's all we need to do. Of course, it's not possible that that everybody is going to heal, and that's unfortunate. However, we just need to reach that one person, and that's my goal. Every time I do a podcast or every time I speak at a rehab, and things like that, my goal is to reach that one person. And I want everyone to know as well that addiction isn't about weakness. It's about the pain that nobody else could see, the pain that we were hiding inside and struggling in silence. And just know that recovery begins when we stop hiding both of those.
Indeed, Mr. Damien, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Hoping for more and more empowering books like this to come. So can you please invite our listeners to support your books, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now? Or book, I should
Sure.
say.
Yeah,
Breaking
sure.
the Silence.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can find it on all major retail or on all major online retailers. I've noticed that Amazon is the most popular. Um, and You can go to our website, btsrecovery.net. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Breaking the Silence, and TikTok as well at BTS Recovery. Yeah, and I want to thank you as well for having me on your show. I appreciate your platform, and just thank you so much.
You're most welcome, Mr. Damian, and I'm inviting you again to my abstract essay. And let's talk about your book itself, the process of writing, and many more. Yes, people, let's support Mr. Damian Bloss because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Damian, thank you so much for your time.
Sure, thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.